All right, what's up, everyone? This is Wild Phil with Wild Phil Zosophy, and today we're going to talk about this semi-glutide called Zepbound and my personal experience with it. Bro, strap yourselves in for a ride because I promise you're going to walk away from this video learning some stuff that you never knew, and why I can guarantee you that. You want to know why? Because that's what this channel is about. It's about calling out things that I don't hear anybody talking about or anybody calling out. That's what Wild Philosophy is about. You see, let me put it this way. Most people, it's like a lot of people, they're like, am I going to be the cat, the domesticated cat? Am I going to hop the fence and be the wild cat out into the world? Well, me, I'm that old Polish grandma sitting on the fence and looking at all the gossip on both sides and learning the actual fucking truth instead of being biased. Because what I'm going to tell you right now, the only bias that I have is my anecdotal experience. So I'm going to tell you all about my weight loss journey. So if you want to, but listen, the things that are going to blow your mind at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you the pros of Zepbound, the cons, and most of all, the absolute cherry on top. I'm going to debunk all the bullshit myths about semi-glutides all the way at the end. Stick around because I promise you're going to learn something that you never heard anywhere else before. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off with my journey. So if you don't want to hear about any of my bullshit, just fast forward to about 15 minutes and then you'll hear all the goodies. But let's start off with my journey. First and foremost, what I want to tell everybody, I'm not some meathead bro. I've never been some guy who was into fitness. Actually, it's stand-up comedy that got me into fitness because of the linear growth that I've had in comedy. I was like, holy shit, this actually works. Consistency works. And that's what got me into getting back into fitness. So I'm not some kind of guy who's going to shit on any type of person. Bro, if you want to be anything that doesn't harm other people, do it. If you want to be fat, be fat. Who gives a fuck? If anything, the 10-year-old me, I would have wanted to been fat just to piss off the gym bros. Fuck them. But me personally, I didn't feel good. And it wasn't even about the voices in my, bro, I'm at the age where I don't give a fuck what people say about me. Being fat to me, I didn't feel good physically. I was out of breath. My joints started hurting. And the absolute top worry at the absolute top, I have sleep epilepsy, which means my trigger for seizures is sleep deprivation, which means when I got so fat, I started getting sleep apnea. I was like, dude, I'm going to fucking die in my sleep in a seizure the most painful way. I can't do this. I got a family. I got a comedy career. I got the rest of the world that I absolutely love. I need some time in the sunshine. All right, I'll stop. Let's get started. So my journey of being fat starts in about 8th grade, okay? I was always a fat kid. I was little Jay Okerson basically. I was the chubby fat kid with horrendous acne, bowl cut, my ball chain with my favorite corn shirt on, Woo Wear jorts, and a wallet chain, and I had my Vans or Airwalks on, walking around with a skateboard as if my fat ass isn't gonna roll an ankle doing that, right? I was always a chubby fat kid, and being fat sucks as far as like being fucked with and harassment. But I feel like it sucked even more for me because my mom was like a diagnosed narcissist and an interior designer so like the moment the smallest fucking pimple starts forming, she's like, wow, you are becoming Frankenstein, you ugly piece of shit. You know, I was awful. I was humiliated. So I was just fat growing up, you know? And in 8th grade is when I drew the line because you know what happened? You know when that creepy uncle says, he's like, hey, you're really growing into that body to girls. I was that girl. Yeah, you know, there comes that time where the first girl has her swingers pop off. Yeah, that was me. I had some serious floppers. That's right. I had some serious tits. I had a double chin. My face looked like Diglett, the Pokemon. And I just like, I was like, I'm sick of this. I need to get rid of it. And you know what sucks? Side note, I'm not going to get into it. You know what sucks about growing up with a narcissist is, you're never going to be good enough. They keep telling you you're fat, you're ugly, like you're not getting good grades. But the truth is you're never going to be good enough. And that's the reason growing up with somebody that abusive, they're never going to tell you how to get better. They just tell you how bad you are. And that's what sucked about me is it was like, yeah, okay, I'm fat. How do I lose weight? We're not going to fucking tell you. We need somebody to shit on. That's how my family was. That's how the people around me. So finally, when I reached high school, I joined the football team. And bro, get this, 8th grade with my floppy titties, I was at 240 pounds in 8th grade. I was 6'1", 240 pounds. And I said I had enough of this. And you know what's funny? Here's the thing that's kind of, here's the reason why I'm Wild Phil, because I get wild. That's what happens to me. You ever hear about how a pig, when you set them free, they go fucking nuts. They start growing fangs and they go wild. That's what happened to me. All the harassment, all the being fat, all the being out of breath, all the humiliation, it finally bubbled up. Because see, most people, they feel bad and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go for a walk, and they fucking walk once a month. It doesn't work. Or I'm going to be vegetarian. And then they do it for like 2 weeks. And like, why didn't this work? Because it's about consistency. It's about consistency. And that's why I recently got into fitness now. Because like I said about stand-up comedy, is that in stand-up comedy, I saw this linear growth. I'm by no means some gym bro. But I was like, holy fuck, consistency works. Hitting up mics works. Maybe doing fitness works. But before we get to that, I'm in 8th grade. I'm 240 pounds, and I went wild. It was bubbling over. I was like, dude, I'm doing everything I fucking can. So what did I do? I joined the football team, football camp at a Catholic school. I even tried being anorexic, and I even tried being bulimic for about a month. It was awful. It was awful. But that's how much I didn't want to be fat. And guess what? After about a year, from 8th grade to about the middle of freshman year high school, like the entire summer of football camp and freshman, I went from 240 to 180. That is unhealthy. That is unhealthy. But that's what I was willing to do. And the crazy thing too is because I was always really into music. I was always into 82 hardcore punk, GBH, and even Casualties, or even just rock and roll. And you look at everybody who's rocking. I never wanted to be jacked. I always wanted to just be skinny. I wanted that Mick Jagger body, so I can start me up on stage. And so by the time I was at basically what happened in football camp is this. We had a few mafia grandkids who their family, they owned a shit ton of like Bona beefs and Portillos. So it was just like, yeah. So here's the thing that I was getting at is when you grow up with a parent that doesn't tell you how to lose weight, finally I had like these father figures that are telling me, okay, you're going to eat this much food, you're going to eat this much calories, and you're going to do nothing but squats. Then tomorrow you're going to do nothing but arms. And I finally knew how to get myself in shape, and I was fucking I was exactly what my BMI is supposed to be, 6'1", 180 by the end of that football camp. And you know what? This is so awful for me to compare because I mean, how do I put this? I don't know how to say this. It's not that I hate UFC. I'm just not that nuts about UFC. But when you see like young videos of like Nate Diaz, I looked like Nate Diaz in freshman year high school. Jacked, ripped, just tone, and just like shaved head. I was starting line defensive tackle on my football team. I was in my peak condition, right? Then I moved from Chicago to the suburbs, had a really tough time. And as far as my weight goes, from 17 to about 25, it stayed somewhere in between 180 pounds to about 205, right? Stayed somewhere between. And the thing is, I didn't work out at all. I was happy in Chicago. I had a bunch of friends. I was on the football team. But when I moved to the burbs, everyone fucking hated me. I mean, it was just a reset of friends. Everyone hated me. I couldn't fit in. So I didn't work out at all. And then I went back up to 220, 230 around when I was 27, 29. right? I'm 38 right now. I just had my birthday a week ago. Around 27, 29. So you know what I did? I did what I knew. And what I knew is what I did between 8th grade and freshman year, except there was no football camp. So what did I do? Anorexia, bulimia, and pure cardio. I was so angry. Here's why I was an angry person, because I wanted to be a welder, and every motherfucker was telling me, they're like, you know what, you can make $70 an hour. Well, bullshit. It's a myth. I'm not going to get into it. The most a welder peaks at is like $40 an hour in your pocket, and that's like after 30 years. Everything it goes into union dues, it goes into healthcare because of our awesome American healthcare system. But the thing that sucked is coming out of high school and becoming a welder, I was making like $13 an hour for like 3 years. The reason why is because you have to work these shit jobs for experience. So I would work these 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. shifts for like 3 years. You know what that means? That means, bro, I'm 25. I'm so raging horny that my dick is a kickstand. I want to go out with chicks. I want to party, but instead I'm working at this fucking welding job, 80 hours a week, whatever, and can only see people on the weekends. So I was really angry. So what did I do? Every day when I came home for mental health, I'd tell myself, I got to run 6 miles, and then I got to run until I'm crying from anger and I can fall asleep not angry at my life. That's what I told myself, and that's what I did. And I went back to 180, except this time, bro, I wasn't in football camp. There's a photo still in my head that haunts me where I'm leaning back on a couch. It was like Christmas or it was somebody's birthday, and I'm leaning on this couch, and my arm, bro, it looks like my grandfather's neighbor in the Holocaust Auschwitz pile. Like I'm not even trying to be funny. I looked like a malnutrition kid in a National Geographic magazine. That's how much I was starving myself. So what happened? I completely fucked my metabolism. Completely fucked it up. You want to know why? Because get this. For people who know what a circadian rhythm is, here's something you don't think about. Every single person, their life and their routine, they develop a personal individual circadian rhythm, right? So that's why you're like, wait a minute. If you're a welder, you're a factory worker, why don't you look like those gay steel mills in The Simpsons, right? Or like dancers at a gay club? Because we're not working to sculpt our bodies. We're working to do a job, which means we're sleep deprived, which makes you really fucking fat. And number two, we're lifting things the wrong way. That's why we all get arthritis as welders, because we're doing things to get the job done rather than to sculpt our bodies. And so, and those welders, they're going to eat whatever the fuck is going to fuel their insomnia minds. It could be Dunkin' Donuts. It could be pizza. And then we end up getting this beer keg with legs, what they call farmer's strength body, where you look like shit, right? And, it's like that with everybody. You develop this circadian rhythm, like hikers, they go on a lot of hikes and they go camping. So they eat a shit ton of Cliff Bars, right? Oh, and so what happened to me is I developed this circadian rhythm where what scared the shit out of me is I didn't realize it was like I was grooming my body to kill my metabolism. The more I ran, the less I ate, and the more I stayed up, I was doing everything to get that metabolism to wilt like a limp dick, and I destroyed my metabolism. And then on top of that, my family dies off in 2019, and I get over-medicated on all these medications, Prozac, lithium, Zyprexa, Seroquel, and now I'm finally on Zoloft on a sweet spot dose that isn't affecting my weight, but I gained 100 pounds. I went almost 100. I went from what I used to be, which was my okay weight, like around 200 to 205, to 6-7 months ago, I was at 280 pounds. And bro, it was awful. It was awful. I remember going on I had a belated honeymoon with my wife in Hawaii, and I'm seeing these pictures, and I'm like, dude, who is that person? I've never even in 8th grade, I was never that fat. What the fuck happened to me? And so I got into that mindset. I'm like, dude, I can't do this again. I can't do this. I was like, am I going to do what I did before? Am I going to starve myself in bulimia and then run 6 miles until I'm angry and fall asleep? No, I got to do something different. I tried jujitsu, broke both ankles. So that's the thing. Jujitsu, guys, most fun thing to do in my entire life. I wouldn't change it for the world. Jiu-jitsu is fucking awesome. I recommend it for everybody to try. But when you work in factories, when you're a welder, it kind of is suspicious when every other week you're walking in with a new wrist brace, a black eye, an ice on your jaw, or a fucking cast on your ankles because I broke both ankles. They're like, dude, are you a gambling addict and you owe a loan? Who keeps kicking your ass, you know? So I told myself, I'm like, okay, what can I do for mental health plus fitness that's not going to injure me? And I started doing CrossFit 6 months ago. 7 months ago, I started doing CrossFit. Was doing awesome. I was keeping up. I was trying to go regular. Dude, it's intense. Basically, what CrossFit is it's high intensity interval training. Except you're doing it with a group, so it's a great community, and they push you. And now we're at 16 minutes. Give me like 2 more minutes to finish up before I start going into these Zepbound facts of mine. But what happened is I was going to CrossFit for about 3-4 months, and I'm not going to say the name because I don't know if he wants to be mentioned, but even my trainer and the people around me, I was like, dude, like, first I was at 280, then I went down to like 270, and now I'm back at 275. What's going on? And he's like, dude, honestly, your body. So there's this thing that I want to talk about a little bit more later. There's this thing called the 2-year default weight. And for people who don't know that, what that means is just like your mind and your sleep and your everything, your blood pressure has its own circadian rhythm. Your weight itself has a circadian rhythm. When what that means is if you want to, so say for example, you got on an app and it said, okay, you have to eat 1,500 calories a day in order to lose this weight. It might take like 2 years because the first 6 months, your body is fighting to stay at that weight. Because of our old caveman ancestors, your body is thinking, holy fuck, we're starving, we're running out of food, we're in the cold, we're in a cave, there's a beast, we can't get any food. So it wants to stay at whatever weight you're at. And it takes 2 years to get to that default. So you really got to do some extreme shit. And I'm asking my fucking CrossFit trainer, I'm like, dude, I think I'm keeping up pretty well, but all I'm doing is gaining muscle. And he's like, honestly, Phil, you fucked up your metabolism trying to starve yourself, and you know, what I said, I groomed my metabolism to be weak, so I fucked up my metabolism naturally. Then I got medicated on these medications that I got misdiagnosed. It was a fucking corporate drug dealer psychiatrist trying to take advantage of my wallet, and I gained almost 100 pounds. He's like, this. If you're going to get any results from CrossFit, it might take like 5 to 10 years. And I go, well, here's why I'm worried. You know when I got worried? Here's where my Zepbound journey started. I got diagnosed with sleep apnea. And here's how sleep apnea works in the greatest country in the world, right? Fuck yourself, bro. I love this country. I'm a Polish migrant. I'm not ashamed of this country. I have super American Polish pride. But you want to know something, bro? The fucking healthcare system is trash. It's a bunch of greedy cunts, and I hope we have another 5 Brian Thompsons because dude, it is unbelievable. Here, let me tell you why. I'll tell you why. I got diagnosed with sleep apnea, right? Here's how sleep apnea appointments work in America. Oh, well, you know what? First, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna talk about what sleep apnea is and whether you have it or not. Okay, that's the first appointment. Then we're gonna make another appointment where we're gonna teach you about this testing machine that we have. It's basically a Karate Kid bandana over your head with a bunch of electrodes, and you're gonna have to do a sleep study where you sleep with this fucking Karate Kid bandana. But we're not gonna do that yet. We're gonna teach you about how to use it first, and then we need another appointment where you actually have to come pick it up, and then we need another appointment where you're gonna drop it off and the results, and then we need another appointment where we're gonna talk to you about the results. And it just keeps going because these fucking doctors just want to keep cashing in. Any other bro, I got cousins in England. I got friends in France. Any other country, all these fucking 7 appointments could have been compressed into like 2. Because they're not making a huge cut, but this is America. Okay? So what happened is first they gave me this shit called Afrin. What Afrin is it basically like it moves all your cells back. It moves your throat back, it moves your nose back, and it's a nasal spray that clears your nose. Well, guess what? It's as highly addictive as heroin. That's right. And it says on the bottle, oh, use as directed. Okay. Well, if you use it night 1, your nose is going to be clogged night 2. So do I use it again? Basically, I know people who have been using Afrin for about 3 months straight. They're mouth breathers now. They breathe strictly out of their mouth because their nose still has not fucking recovered from the Afrin. So, okay, so health insurance says, okay, well, now we need another appointment to have a tap device. What is a tap device? Tap device it's basically a mouth guard. So picture any mouth guard that you have that people, the Clearasil guards that people, not Clearasil, you know what I'm talking about, where it straightens out your teeth, right? What a tap device is it's made out of like silicone and fiberglass, so it sucks to your teeth almost like a magnet. And then you have this like little screw where it pushes your lower jaw forward to open up that opening in your throat, which sucks. You want to know why it sucks? Because first of all, it gives you an underbite. I'm actually kind of curious what happens to people to already have got like a Beavis underbite. They open the cash register all the way? Like, and so here's what sucks is if you don't want that underbite, you have to do 15 minutes of exercises in the morning where you're like, it looks like you're chewing the hardest piece of gum in the world. I'm like, what? This is what you're going through because of American healthcare. Tap device didn't work. So finally you get to a CPAP device, right? You know what? You want to know how CPAP device helped? You know how it worked? They gave me this device that was hooked up through Wi-Fi. And here's what they said. They said, oh, Phil, if the Afrin actually didn't work, if the tap device actually didn't work, well, now we're going to monitor you. I'm like, what does that mean? Like they make it seem like they're trying to cure your sleep apnea because they're keeping track of the occurrences at night. What they're actually doing is if you don't wear it, bro, it takes like 6 months to get used to that. Do you know how hard it? Picture anything uncomfortable. Picture trying to sleep with the smallest inconvenience, with a fucking action figure on your forehead. It takes like 6 months to get used to. And guess what? You always rip it off in your sleep because your body is rejecting it. So you want to know what happens? They are monitoring you because if you don't wear it 5 out of 7 of the days a week, you get charged out of pocket by the great American healthcare system. So I said, fuck you, motherfuckers. I'm going on. I went to my doctor, and luckily it was the peak of this Ozempic craze, and they were like, you know what? You need to be on Ozempic. That's what they gave me. And I didn't even take offense to it. I'm like, dude, it's that or I'm getting bariatric surgery. And side note, how does the CPAP story end? It ends great because what ended up happening is I found a website that sells refurbished CPAPs where you don't have to connect to your doctor. And that way you don't get charged by your insurance. So basically, here's what's funny. Me having a brand new CPAP device through insurance, I think it would have cost like something like $20,000, and I paid already like $2,000 because I wasn't wearing it 5 out of the 7 days a week. I found a refurbished model of the exact model that I had for $800. So I could have just immediately not fucking gone through insurance. But that's America. So, fuck yeah! So here's what happens. Here's where my Zepbound journey starts. We're at 24 minutes. God damn it, I apologize. I'm sorry. But I like to go into detail and people like to listen, okay? Here's where my Zepbound journey starts. Once again, I went to my personal care provider and he said, I think, Phil, You don't want to have regrets with bariatric surgery. What is bariatric surgery? There's the lapse band. There's the what's it called? The lap band, right? Which is basically it's like it looks like the bone in the middle of a steak that they put around your stomach and they tighten it, and sometimes it gets infected. And then the other thing is there's a gastric sleeve, which is where they cut 85% of your stomach off, and if you eat too much, it bursts open. Kind of scary, right? And it could stretch out to where it's scary. It's dangerous. It's a slow process. I was hearing all these things about Ozempic and Zepbound and Mounjaro, right? Especially Ozempic, right? So I went to the doctor, and I finally they took my BMI. They said you're fucking 280, or I was 270 at the time because I was still going to CrossFit, and you're like, yeah, you're 270, you qualify for Ozempic, you can get it. I go to my Walgreens. They're like $1,000 a month. I'm like, no fucking way. No fucking way. So what did I do? I found a reputable bulk distributor. Shout out to Care Clinics in California, where basically it's all like medically verified. Like, dude, it's not bullshit. It's not like some Chinese or Mexican illegal shit, where you hear about like on the show Botched, where you're injecting Quickcrete into your face. No. This is actual, reputable, registered, and certified medical group in California. But here's the thing. They're like, well, all these people want Ozempic, and all these motherfuckers are paying a shit ton of money all over the country going through their personal care provider. We're going to specialize in just this. And that's all they do. It's like when you hear about, it's basically when you hear about all these people that get Ozempic and shit from Costco for like unbelievably cheap, that's basically what this company is. They're actually with Costco. So, but I don't want to pay a Costco membership. So I'm going direct to the supplier. And I bought like a full vial. I forgot how many, I should probably know this for this video, but I bought like the full vial that should last 3 months, and I bought 5 vials. So basically what I did is I was like, okay, if you buy in bulk, it's cheaper. So I could have bought something that lasted me 1 month for $1,000, but going through Care Clinics, I bought $1,500 worth that lasts me like 2 years. Okay. And luckily they will do late delivery so that it doesn't like expire or anything. So let's talk about my Zepbound journey. How did it work? How did it feel? Okay. I started off, and they start you off basically. I didn't get, you see a lot of ads and stuff. They give you like these pens. I didn't get a pen. What I got is an actual like bag of needles, which is a little scary if you don't do heroin like me. And you get the vial, and you start off for about 2 to 4 weeks, basically whatever your comfort level is, and you do 2.5 milliliters, whatever it is on each syringe differs, right? I have the syringes I had were like as skinny as a pencil, and I would do 2.5 milliliters, right? For about 2 to 4 weeks. I switched at exactly 2 weeks. And what they do is every 2 to 4 weeks, you're supposed to double your dose. You inject once a week. I would inject on Thursdays. And actually I loved it, by the way, because I don't eat a lot when I'm at work. I pig out on the weekends. So I wanted to inject right before I feel like I'm going to pig out. So basically what happened is you'd get this dose for 2 to 4 weeks, and then you double it, and then you double it, and then you double it. So I went from 2.5 for 2 to 4 weeks. Then I went to 5 for 2 to 4 weeks. Then I went to like 7.5, and I stayed at 7.5. I didn't want to do any more than that. Some people stay at the lowest dose, but I was like, you know what? This is my sweet spot, like people do with medication, right? So let's talk about what side effects I had. Let's talk about first, people want to hear the bad news. So let's talk about the horror story. A horror story that I anecdotally heard from a gay friend of mine. And a reason why is it important to say my gay friend? Because he found out the bad way. His partner, what Ozempic does, what semaglutides do is they slow down your digestive system so much to the point where you can become constipated unless you treat it well with fiber and you eat the right things. Well, this guy was eating whatever the fuck he wanted. And his body, and some people, their body rejects it. Some people are allergic to ibuprofen, so they take Tylenol, and his body he was so backed up in his gut that let's just say him and his boyfriend had a little fun, and he was like, bro, there is like a bowling ball of shit inside you, and he had to get surgery. So I heard that and I was like, why the fuck would you go on semaglutides? Why? Because that's one story and that's one person and they did it wrong. Okay? And here's what I'm talking about wrong. When you get on a semaglutide, so what does a semaglutide do? It's made for diabetics to lower your blood sugar. Why does that slow down your diet? I'm talking about, bro, I'm a dummy. I know I'm going to have a bunch of fact checkers call me out, but I'm speaking from my experience. What does sugar do for your body? Well, for most people, especially in caveman times, it worked as a source of energy, right? So here's what's funny. When you lower your blood sugar, one of the side effects is fatigue. I do find myself drinking way more fucking coffee, but I don't give a fuck. It's not that big a deal. First of all, let me tell you this. The hardest part of semaglutides is the first 4 weeks. So let's talk about let's keep talking about what my side effects were. They were talking about, okay, I was worried about constipation. You want to know why this kid got backed up to a bowling ball of shit? Because, okay, put this algebraic equation together. A plus B plus C plus D equals E, right? Get this. When you're on a semaglutide, what happens is you're slowing down your digestive system. When you slow down your digestive system, you eat less. When you eat less, that kind of means that whatever you do eat better fucking be nutritious. It better be nutritious. That's why what's funny to me, I mean, I don't know if this is proven, but this is my theory. It's like Zoloft. You know how like different things react differently to different people? Some people on Zoloft cannot stop sleeping. I just did a podcast with my buddy Germ T Ripper, who said he takes and he's so sleepy all the time. To me, it caused insomnia. It works differently, but that's neurological. So what happens with Ozempic? Here's what's funny. Some people would say that they would get tremendous shits when they do semaglutides. Do you want to know why? Because these are people who are taking semaglutides because they already eat like shit. So they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to keep eating like shit and take this thing. Well, guess what happens? Your body's trying to get rid of that sugar. So it's going to get rid of it by pissing out of your fucking ass. That's how. Me, you could ask my wife, you could ask my friends, I already don't eat sugary stuff. I don't have dessert. I actually, like, when I crave like a dessert, I have a cigar. I don't know why. That's just how I am. When I crave, to me, when I think of like what's a good dessert, I think of like a espresso and a cigarette in the morning because I'm a fucking Polak. But because I was already not eating sugary stuff and now I'm going on a semaglutide, it made me super constipated because it was slowing down the digestion and it wasn't really ejecting any sugar. So what I found out is that no matter what I eat, have vitamins. Have a multivitamin every fucking day. Like people say, oh, you don't really need a multivitamin. It's so like oversaturated with stuff that you're actually giving a body too much vitamins and you piss half of it out. When you're on semaglutides, it's taking all those vitamins because you're not eating a lot. So let's go over what happened to me. I know I keep saying that, but first side effect that I felt that was unpleasant. I had not had heartburn since I was a fat little 10-year-old at like a circus eating funnel cake and onion rings. That's like the only time in my entire life I ever remember having heartburn. I think I had a heartburn again when I tried having Everclear in high school because it just destroys your gut. But I never had heartburn. Those first 2 weeks, it was like Every day I had heartburn going to sleep. It was so hard to fall asleep. And what did I do? I mean, I slept on the side, or I just I put like four pillows up, and I slept on my back, like made sure it's under my back so it supports me properly. And then it goes away. It goes away. That was my first bad side effect of Zepbound. 7.5 milligrams is what I'm on now. Next thing, this was even more scary for me. Remember how I talked about the constipation? Well, what does constipation and not eating a lot have in common? You get dehydrated so much easier. It's why, I don't know if you see, I keep drinking. I drink like 3 of these a day. This is a 64 ounce of water. I drink it with an electrolyte / magnesium amino acid mix. It's called the amino acid mix from On It. Not On It, from On Supplements. I drink 3 of these a day. And the reason why I say that is what happened is I work at a carpet shop. And so basically, I'm not joking, the amount of labor, the amount of physical activity I do at my job is how much I do at CrossFit, except I'm doing both. And so sometimes I would have such a busy day, I wouldn't drink any of these. I would just have like a large iced coffee, no sugar, no cream from Dunkin' Donuts, just black coffee. And so I'm having a diuretic on top of being dehydrated. And you know what happened? I got a man clitoris. I got my first hemorrhoid I've ever had in my entire life. I'm washing myself in my shower. I'm like, dude, why do I have a nutsack growing out of my butthole? And it scared the shit out of me, but I fixed it real quick. Now let's go over why that was happening. Because number one, I was dehydrated. And number two, I was eating one meal a day, but it didn't have any fiber, and I literally couldn't fit anything anymore. I was full. If I ate any more, I would throw up. So I have to take a fiber pill every day, right? So that's the last side effect I've ever had. That's it. And that's the end of my journey. And now it's time. Holy shit, we're at 37 minutes. Now I'm going to go into the pros, cons, and the myths of what I've learned from Zepbound. So what are the results? Bro, it's June 15th. I'm 38 years old. I started off at 280 pounds, and I am now at around 240. I lost 40 pounds in 6 months on being Zepbound, and I'm staying at 7.5. And really, what did I do? I did all the right shit. You can't stop working out. Number one. Number one should be stay fucking hydrated. That's the number one thing. Number two, have a psyllium fiber pill every single day. And you know what? A lot of people will shit on this. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, dude, well if you were healthy, you would have fiber, bro." Even the average gym rat who listens to fucking Joe Rogan all day and eats nothing but 20 steaks a day doesn't have enough fiber. So just take a psyllium fiber, bro, and shut the fuck up, because you'd be taking it anyways. So, yeah, and I never got hemorrhoids back. I never got the heartburn back. My sleep apnea went away. I mean, it's nothing, bro. Everything is going great. I couldn't recommend it more. Obviously, it feels weird every Thursday to inject a needle into your arm. And then, and here's the other thing I want to say. So for the first 2 to 4 weeks, you're going to have heartburn every fucking day. You might be constipated, and it might fuck with you. You're going to be like, holy shit, my body, this feels weird. My body doesn't feel like this. After that first month, you'll get those side effects very mildly and only on injection day. So basically, every Thursday, I'm like, I might feel this, but I don't. I'm 6 months in, and all I feel is like I eat a meal a day, and I don't want to eat anymore. And people are like, well, what the fuck are you eating that you have enough fiber and nutrients? Well, dude, I love liver and onions. I love steak. I love shish kebabs. And plus, everything I eat is from the Polish store. So all the processed shit that's like disgusting in America, you're basically eating like doughy rubber. It's outlawed in a Polish store. It's all imported. So they don't sell bad shit at the foreign deli. So that's what I eat. And I don't eat a lot of desserts. And so that's the key about being on Zepbound is stand on your injections, just go through with the first few months, and most of all, like stay hydrated, okay? Now let's talk about the pros and cons. First of all, everybody wants to hear about the cons. Everybody wants to hear about the cons of Zepbound. All right, let's talk about the cons. Like I said, constipation. You might get hemorrhoids. You might be super backed up. Take a fiber pill. That's the first thing, and you're gonna fucking feel it for the first month. At the most. Some people get over it in a week. So whatever. That's number one. Constipation. Number two, lack of nutrition. And what lack of nutrition ties in with is fatigue. Fatigue. Why does that tie into each other? What I'm saying is eat a nutritious food and take a multivitamin and a psyllium fiber every single day. That's all you got to do. Why do I say that? Well, here's why. Because here's the thing. Imagine if you get to the point where you're like, I can only eat 2 meals a day. That's basically where I'm at. I basically don't eat anything from the moment I wake up to about 3 p.m. Maybe noon. And then I eat from noon to like 6 p.m. 2 meals. That's it. That's where I've gotten. It's basically intermittent fasting, except because my blood sugar is down, I don't get mood swings. So that's what semaglutides are. You're basically intermittent fasting, not getting mood swings. But like I said, eat something nutritious, because think about it. If you are eating 1 or 2 meals a day, those meals are going to depend how you feel that day. If you're, let's just be honest, a disgusting gluttonous fuck who always eats Hostess and hot dogs and frozen fucking chicken nuggets, and you just continue eating those, you're going to feel like shit on semaglutides. They'll do their work. They'll make you lose weight, but you're going to barf more, you're going to have the shits more, and your moods are going to be all over the place cuz your body's dying for nutrition cuz you're starving it. So, those are basically all the cons. Fatigue, constipation, lack of nutrition. Got to watch out for it. And you got to be super hydrated. Those are the cons. Let's talk about the pros, bros. You lose a shit ton of weight. You feel lighter. I absolutely cured my sleep apnea. Absolutely, right? So here's what happened. When I took the sleep apnea tests, legally, in order to get a CPAP, you have to have 5 or more occurrences a night. I was at 8, which is not bad. I have a buddy who's like a jacked John Cena. He has 25. And because of that, well, it's also because he's got an overbite, almost like a British fucking lad trying to tell you about the absolute patriarchy and the hierarchy and the kings of England. And because he's got that overbite, he's got horrible sleep apnea. Like that, he could use a tap device, but he doesn't want to have an underbite. So what happened to me is I started sleeping on my side, which for me, if I had 8 occurrences, now went down to like 4 because I lost weight. But now that I'm sleeping on my side, I don't have it at all. I don't ever snore anymore. Your quality of life is so much better. So you lose weight, you feel lighter, you sleep better, you feel better. I mean, dude, literally the number one cause of depression in America is literally the lack of it's the lack of sleep. Yeah, it's eating like shit, but you're eating like shit because you're trying to make up for all the hours you didn't sleep. So it's an Ouroboros snake, you know? You look better, you eat healthier. Now, let's go into the myths. This is my favorite part of the video. We're at almost 45 minutes. Let's talk about the myths. All right? We already talked about the constipated. That you're going to be constipated and you're going to feel like shit, bro. Fiber pill a day. So that was the first myth that people tell me. You're going to be always constipated. You're always going to have heartburn. No, you won't. if you eat the right food, so what causes heartburn, right? Instead of that, why don't you look up what foods don't cause heartburn? Basically, anything that isn't fried. So what did I eat? I like Mediterranean and Thai food. They're like my favorite foods. That's what I would eat. You know what my favorite diet actually that I learned from CrossFit was? You know how you know that something is healthy that I recommend to every fucking person listening to this? They call it a block diet, but the way I called it is a 5 ingredient diet. And what that means is, how do you know if the more natural it is, the better it is for you? So, like, I know this sounds really fucking stupid, but it's all about the caveman ancestors and our bodies recognizing different types of foods. So, for example, over-processed fucking Tostinos that you put in the fridge weren't around for cavemen. So you're eating this thing, and the caveman in you is like, dude, am I eating like am I eating like a hamster's pillow cushion? It's like that episode of Three Stooges where they're like cooking pancakes and they're eating pillows with feathers in them accidentally. Like, your body is like, this is foreign. I shouldn't, it's like when they say, like, when you leave cats alone, they just can sense not to eat poisonous or not to eat plastic. That's what your body's doing. It doesn't want to eat processed shit. So what am I saying? There's actually good sugar to eat. When you put organic cane sugar in your coffee, that's okay. When you eat this over-processed fucking uncrustable sandwich, that's like over-processed sugar sprinkled with a little processed sugar, sprinkled with a little powdered processed sugar. So that's what I'm talking about. The 5-ingredient diet. It's like a shish kebab. What's on a shish kebab? Steak, peppers, onions, seasoning. That's all you need. That's all you need. What did I eat today? This morning I had a coffee. I had a dark chocolate bar. Then I had a deli baguette, real bread, like real, almost like Ezekiel bread, where it's fresh, where if you don't eat it in 2 days, it molds. That's real healthy bread. It's not, your bread ain't supposed to last longer than 2 days. And just deli. Oh, and I had a Polish kielbasa, like a deli Polish kielbasa. All natural ingredients. And that's the thing that's funny. A lot of people, they say like sausages, like kielbasa, are bad for you. Bro, do you know how much? Okay, when you make like a kielbasa or an Italian sausage in a deli, it's like 5 different body parts from an animal. When you look at Oscar Mayer Wiener hot dogs, it's every single leftover that hit the ground. It could be the factory workers' toenails ground up in there. 5 ingredients or less. Then you won't have constipation. You won't have heartburn. You eat the right shit. So constipation myth debunked. Okay, what's next? Okay. So the heartburn thing. Actually, this goes into the pro of semaglutides, and the pro is this: that when you realize, like, dude, you don't want to be constipated. You don't want to have heartburn, losing sleep because your fucking throat is on fire. Well, and then you realize just by trial and error, oh, it's like a little kid touching a stove. You're like, well, when I eat this food, it doesn't make me feel this bad. So basically what semaglutides are doing is they're almost grooming your body into eating healthy food, because you're like, oh, shit. It's like amplifying the shittiness of shitty food. So it trains you to eat good shit. Okay, so heartburn, constipation, debunked as far as I'm concerned. Now here's the stuff that I want to talk about that drove me insane. And what I'm talking about, where I'm going to end this video off at, is all these haters that are saying you're going to gain all the weight back. And then when you do that argument, you know what I had somebody tell me? That you lose bone density. Okay, you moron. Because first of all, let's talk about this. You ever hear that fucking saying that, you know what, if you're going to look for it, you're going to find it. You know what, if you want to write, like, how do I put this? Somebody like Trump, It is impossible. It is literally impossible to find a centrist article on somebody like Trump because there is so much extreme shit on him. You know what? If you wrote a centrist article on a figure like Trump, it would have to be about something ridiculous that everybody could agree on. Like you know, the way he ties his tie is actually very professional. And people would still find a way to disagree with it. Or the type of pudding he ate as a 10-year-old child. Like, people forget that even awful people used to be an innocent, uncorrupted, vulnerable little child. You got to get rid of the hate. And why I'm saying I don't give a fuck about, I'm not talking about just Trump. I'm talking about all the hate. And what I'm saying is the hate, what this has to do with semi-glutides, Ozempic, Mounjaro, and Zepbound is that, bro, do you want to get your information from haters? There's so many haters that are so mad that you could look as fit as this loser who's got nothing to do but to go to the gym like 3 times a day, 16 times a week. I do this every day. Because you know what? It's like AI taking your jobs. Suddenly, you've been doing all this fitness to sculpt your body and look good, and you know what? Now I could just take a fucking shot and not have to waste my time lifting objects in a gym like a fucking caveman. Now, I will say I like going to the gym. It's good for my mental health, but I've never had an ego. And these bro, that's the funniest thing, dude. I love that I grew up in the era where it was like there was jocks and there was nerds. Jocks are just like they're muscular nerds. They're more on the spectrum and socially awkward than actual nerds. Nerds who watch Dragon Ball Z now, they have more confidence than a jock. They're like, well, all I got to do is like do like 400 curls today, and she's gonna ask me out. They have social anxiety. And so that's why there's all these haters, these fitness haters. Oh, you're gonna do it. You're gonna cheat. Yeah, bitch. Call me a fucking cheater when it comes to losing weight. Like, I'm not doing this to shit on you. I'm doing this because this makes me feel better. And who gives a shit? So let's talk about the myth that you gain all the weight back. Now, I haven't gone off of it, so anecdotally, I don't have that evidence. But here's the evidence I do have. Okay. We live in a dualist, Western dualism country. You know what that means? I've had a video about this. You can look at it about Western dualism. And what that basically means is that the holy trinity of super dumb fucking dunce religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, has bred this country into thinking in dualism. Everything is black or white, left or right, conservative or liberal, up or down, us versus them. Everything bro, life is so much more than 2 choices. You need to get out of your fucking sandbox. You need to unplug that fucking shot that's in the back of your head in the Matrix and realize how much more there is out there. And what I'm talking about is this, that when people talk about you could gain all the weight back, here's what they're thinking. So I started off at like 280 pounds, right? Now I'm at 200, almost 240. I'm like 243 or something, right? So what the haters' logic is, and that's, first of all, that's what I was getting at. Why would you get your semi-glutide information from haters? It's a biased source. That's why what I'm about to say will blow your mind, okay? If I started at 280 and now I'm at 240 and I keep going, right? So say I stop taking Ozempic now. Zepbound. Say I stop taking it now. Do you want to know what would happen? Bro, as you're taking Zepbound, I mentioned you're training your brain and your routine to eat healthier food, to eat food that doesn't constipate you or give you heartburn, and also your stomach naturally shrunk. Your stomach's like, holy shit, like, I don't need that much shit in there anymore. Your stomach shrinks. That's why they do bariatric surgery, so that no more shit can fit in there. But when you train your stomach to shrink, you naturally are how do I put this? Remember I told you about that default theory where your body's like circadian rhythm sets to a new default? Your body is at a new default now. And that's why for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lose enough weight to where I'm at a certain weight. What my goal is 180. When I get at 180, I'm still going to be on it for 2 years and then slowly wean off because I'm resetting that default point. But here's what I'm getting at when they talk about, oh, you gain all of it back. No, you don't gain all of it back. If I started at 280 and now I'm at 240, I might go back up to 250. That's fucking natural. You want to know why? Because for 6 months, my body has been depleted of sugar. So the moment you get off of something that depletes you of sugar, you know what's going to happen is now, even if you eat the same stuff, which I'm still going to eat healthy food, suddenly all those carbs that were in these foods that are already healthy, my body's suddenly going to start storing them because your body's like, holy shit, we're storing for the depression. We're storing to start. It's that caveman genetics in us that we're storing for like a bad event. So naturally, I will gain weight getting off of Zepbound, but it's not going to be all of it. It's going to be like 30% of it maximum. And that's what all the haters need to hear. That's what haters do. That's what they do. They're mad that you're getting to where they got, except you're taking a fucking bullet train there. You know what's a simple example? I remember... So I'm a comedian and I travel out of state and I do a lot of and then I used to be a welder where I would travel out of state. So I bought a Prius because it saves money on gas and they fucking last forever. You want to know what haters told me? You want to know what a hater told me? He goes, "Guess what, bro? When you buy a Prius, replacing that hybrid battery is going to be 200. It's going to be like 20 grand. It's going to be the price of a new car." And I was like, so funny thing is I believed him and I was like, okay, well, the Prius at the time was like 20 grand. So like, it's basically, I'm still like if you bought a fucking, a Ford sedan or a Chevy sedan, a Chevy Impala for 20 grand, like a Prius, they're going to last the same amount of time anyways, except I'm going to still save money on gas. Guess what? That isn't true. The battery he was talking about was a Tesla. That's because he's a Fox News zombie. And so a Prius, I know people who have Priuses at 400,000 miles. The point is, to replace Prius battery, it's like 2 grand. It's 2 grand to replace a new hybrid battery. So what is my point? Don't listen to the fucking haters because all they know is the bullshit myths. So once again, what I'm saying is you will not gain all your weight back. You won't, because depending upon how long you're on this for, you are training your body to eat better now. That's what I'm getting at. So that myth is debunked. You will not. I can almost guarantee that when you get off of a semaglutide, you will never get back to the weight that you were starting at. You will never get there because you experienced what it's like to eat food that doesn't give you heartburn or constipates you. Last myth that I'm going to debunk. We're at 58 minutes. Perfect. Oh, man, it's going to be a perfect hour. My mild OCD is going wild if I end it at exactly 60. I better shut the fuck up before I don't. So, the last thing, when I mentioned this to my friend about how, like, you don't gain weight, he goes, oh, yeah? Well, you know what? Did you know that when you're on a semaglutide, your bone density shrinks? Your bone density shrinks. That's your worry. So and I'm like, so what does that mean? And I knew what that meant. I was just testing this guy because I knew he was a fucking hater. He goes, well, your bones are gonna break easier. They're gonna. So he's making it seem like I'm gonna walk around like, basically like when the T-1000 in Terminator gets frozen and he takes a step forward and just shatters. That's how he's making it seem, bro. You want to know another fact about bone density? Do you know that heavy power lifters, their bone density increases than the average human? Do you want to know what that means? That means that your body regulates your bone density based on your weight and what your fitness is used to, you fucking nut job. Do you understand what that means? That if you're a power lifter, your bones are telling your brain, bro, we better get some more fucking marrow and calcium and get stronger because we're about to fucking snap, right? So the fact, like, I don't even know how to explain this. The fact that he told me your bone density gets less, that's like proving my point. I'm like, dude, you're losing so much weight that your bones don't need to carry that much weight anymore. So it's like like once again that black and white dualist mentality make like in his mind he heard that like, oh, you know, when you go on a semaglutide, you get your bone density gets weaker. He's making it seem like your bone density is going to go from the average human to like a fucking leper, when really what your bone density is going from is a fat fuck to the new you that has now lost weight and is fit. So you don't need that bone density anymore. And you want to know what's even fun? You want to know what debunks that even more? That guess what, bro? You want to know what I did to keep my bone density? I was 280, right? When I lost 20 pounds, I just kept wearing a 20-pound weight vest to work. So guess what? Not only did I lose almost 40 pounds, my bones are as strong as when I was 280 because I'm wearing a weight vest. Your bones regulate to your daily activities. At the end of the day, what I'm saying is, bro, semaglutides, Ozempic, Zepbound, Mounjaro, they're a good fucking thing. They're a great thing. They have changed my life. Why have they changed my life? I sleep better. I have a better quality of sleep. I have a better quality of life. I have less arthritis. I'm 38 fucking years old. And you know what I do on the daily? I get up at like 6 in the morning. I do stretches. I go to a full day of moving carpet on my shoulder like Arnold with a log in Commando. Then I go to CrossFit. Then I take a cold shower, and then I do comedy, and I do that on the daily. Now, you tell me that semaglutides don't fucking work. Biatch. Thank you for getting wild. Please comment, and please, all the haters, tell me about what a cheater I am and how much you love being at the gym with other people who are depressed and just love to pick things up and down while I'm out doing stand-up. Peace.